I'm going to go ahead and call us to order. Well, I guess I can see who's all here. And if anybody else pops in, I'll just take notes as we go.
Sarah, this is Moses. Before you call
Yeah.
to order, could you confirm that you have a quorum of your commission?
Yeah, so we need 7 members and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 members right now.
Great.
Yes. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and get this going. Do we have any public comments?
We had one from last meeting that was supposed to be read at this meeting.
Do you have that to read, Gary?
I do not.
Okay, we can pull it up. Let me see if I can find it. Or Gary, could you please find that?
And Chair Meyer, you may wish to call attendance.
Yeah. Okay, so I actually don't have the list of members right now because Jeffrey has that.
I would have expected that be part of this meeting.
I could try to find that too.
And calling this meeting by sending out a notice at 4 o'clock last night to for a 4 o'clock meeting today. I know it probably meets the minimum requirements, but that is not very trustworthy in my opinion. So
I appreciate that. I've been working to set up this meeting with some new staff members at the city and the city staff in general. And this is how we managed to make it happen so we could have a meeting and not go weeks and weeks without one. So I understand that's probably part of why members can't be here. If that's what happened.
Sarah, I have that email from June 6th pulled up.
Could you please read it?
Sure. It is June 6th from Bill Jensen. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I can go ahead. And you want me to go ahead and read it, or do you want to call the roll?
If you could read it, that'd be great.
Okay.
And I'll find our roll sheet.
Okay. So it's from Bill Jensen and it was sent Monday, June 6th. And it says Colorado Sunshine Law. The law states that all meetings of 2 or more members of any state public body where any business is discussed must be open to the public. A gathering of a quorum or 3 or more individuals of a local body constitutes a meeting. And then the secret message above, which I believe was a copy of a text message. I don't have that here, but it says the secret message above was exposed in 8th District Court last March. It's one many embarrassing text messages between Don Overcash and senior employee Kelly Jones. Our government and council frequently hold dark gatherings with third parties pursuing risk-free agendas on the backs of Loveland residents. In this example, a tax hike, ballot initiative 2A, November 2020, is analyzed by a private firm to shift their obligated expenses onto the city treasury. And some councilors wonder why a, quote, angry mob, unquote, is stirring up a recall, wanting an honest and safe neighborhood for their families. These recall advocates are exercising their rights as dutiful citizens. They should be applauded and respected, not threatened. At the same time, Councilor Dana Foley deceitfully instructs the Community Trust Commission to do the council's bidding. His lie is outrageous and dangerous. The CTC is absolutely autonomous and is beholden only to the ordinance and to public safety. Councilors are politicians with agendas which do not serve the public despite their oath to serve. On June 7, council will vote to steal $15 million because they, quote, oops, just lost it, hold on. On June 7, council will vote to steal $15 million because they, quote, weren't aware, unquote, of the Pulse contract details. It's ludicrous to think after approving a $97 million bond against Tabor that more money wouldn't be needed indefinitely. Comparing the CTC to other boards and commissions is moronic and absurd. I urge the CTC to stand for public safety and trust, but you have omitted accountability as its foundation. That is a non-starter. As recommendations are prepared, be mindful that patterns in city government and council do not serve the public, all the while no accountability exists. Remember, the Garner matter was settled due to city inaction, not a police action. A policy of no accountability got an old disabled woman beaten and injured by cops in broad daylight, and not to mention costing the city $3 million and change. When council demands your data for these recommendations, the CTC may merely reply, the data is $3 million, no accountability, and no term limits. Sincerely, Bill Jensen, Loveland, Colorado.
Thank you for reading that.
Sure.
Do we have any more public comment? Is there any phone-in comment?
Thank you, Chair Mayor. If you would like to speak during public comment, please press *9 on your phone or choose the raise your hand feature. Chair Mayor, I do not see any raised hands.
Okay. Then let me take attendance real quick. I did find our attendance. So Kathryn Barrett.
Here.
Aaron Black.
Here.
Katherine Bullard. I see you. Joanna Drake. I saw her. Is she still on?
Is on the phone,
Okay, good. She's still there.
muted.
Cool. Gary.
Here.
Tara. She's not going to be available today. Lori.
Here.
Commissioner Ward, sorry. Commissioner Scholl.
Here.
Commissioner Stoddart.
Here.
Commissioner Swiger. Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Vic. And I believe that's everyone that we
I'm here.
have. I see it, yeah. Okay, cool. And I can write you down if you weren't able to answer. I can see you. This time I can see the whole screen. So, hey. All right. Our agenda today is going to be, we got to go quick through it because we only have an hour. I'm sorry, I'm fighting a cold, so I will do my best to speak very clearly. It's been a week, but that's okay. We're here. So next up, comment survey update. Kathryn, would you run us through the survey update, please?
Sure. I sent out the survey update through Jeffrey to everyone. Did anyone not receive it?
I don't know if I did or not.
I'm sorry?
It's Gary, I'm not sure I got it. I'm checking.
I don't think so either. Let me check my junk while we're meeting here.
Okay. It
Are
wouldn't.
you talking about recently?
Yeah, it would have come from Jeffrey Range.
Within the last few days?
Yeah.
Okay, last one I got was June 16th.
Okay, so I'll just run through quickly. It's the survey responses are very similar to what they were as far as who they trust and who the respondents don't. Currently, we have 283 responses distributed through the wards, with Ward 2 having the most, Ward 3 having the least. The trust level for the Loveland Police Department is 23% trust, 57 distrust. And for city council and or leadership, it's 10% trust and 63% trust. The rest of them are 50% or more trust, with the exception of roads of transportation. There's 40% trust and 49% neutral.
I think
The
we
comments-
misread the trust on the council, though.
Do what?
I think you misread the figures on the trust on council.
10% trust in city council and leadership, 63% distrust.
Right, last time you said trust, though.
I'm sorry, and 28% neutral. So the types of comments that we're getting, they're all over the map, and we need to have some sort of a way to look at this and to gain some actionable items from all of these comments, which are varied, and a lot of them are not very, very helpful as far as determining action. But my thoughts are that on city council, for example, and leadership, I'm seeing various themes, and I can certainly pluck out those themes. And the same with specific people. If specific people are mentioned, I can give you this name. There's this much trust and this much distrust associated with that name. But I don't know how helpful any of that is. And we lost Jessica, who was going to be extrapolating the data and trying to come up with some actionable items. Jonna Drake offered to help with this, but I sent her I gave her the sheet all printed up, and I'm sure it's just overwhelming. There's 500 comments. And a lot of them are really not, I don't know what the word is. They're not super helpful. There's a lot of emotion being expressed and not a lot of ideas. So if anyone has any ideas for looking at this, you should get this soon. As soon as I think Jeffrey's out for a while, isn't he?
Today should be his first day back from vacation.
Okay. So he has that he should be getting out to you soon. And then he also has some suggestions that I have for the code of ethics that are taken from that survey. So Lori, did you have a? Sorry.
Yeah, I have, sorry, there's a train going by. I have two thoughts on that. When we've done open-ended surveys like this in the past with the school board, that the board members saw all of the raw comments, right? The data, the numbers were collated in a way, but we saw all of the raw comments. So if somebody said, fire the chief of police, we saw that. If somebody gave us a whole paragraph on why the water tastes terrible, we saw that, whatever it is. And then the other thing that they would often do for us is kind of categorize them. So, and I think you probably already thought of that, Kathryn, is to categorize them like this has to do with city council and leadership. This has to do with, I don't know, fire department. This has to do with nothing, because I'm sure there's a certain amount of them that are totally off topic because people are people. But I'm willing to go through, I have time and I'm willing to go through those and sort them out, just kind of as raw comments, if that's what you need somebody to do. So I'll offer myself up for that if I get copies of them.
Commissioner Black?
Yeah, I definitely feel like that would be nice to have under each category, the city council, leadership, what have you. Also, I would like city council to be able to look at that raw data as well. I think it's important, like you said, Commissioner Barrett, there's a lot of emotions coming out in this, and I think people really want to be heard. And I think it's important that we pass that on. I don't want it just to come to these sets of eyes and nobody else's. I think it's really important that we pass that on and request that each of them read those carefully.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Commissioner Drake? Oh, you're good. Okay. So Kathryn, is that good? Wrap it up.
Yeah, I think I'll circle back with Commissioner Ward and see if Commissioner Drake had any ideas, and maybe the three of us can work on it a little bit to and I totally understand what you're saying, Commissioner Black, that they need to be, these voices need to be heard. That's our whole thing, is to be a voice for these people. That's the whole reason we put this together, and the website as well. But there has to be something actionable that we can base our recommendations on, and that the city can choose to do or not do something with. And then the only other thing I have is distribution. We have 2 events left. We had to cancel the last one because of no participation. I am out of town on July 4th, so I can't participate in that, but I'll be there on the 10th. So I need to know from folks if you're, and we need really all hands on deck July 4th. We need 2 people to be attending the table at any given time, as well as people walking the crowd and just giving out those survey cards and trying to get more participation that way. So there's that. And then there's the last farmers market is going to be July 10th, and I'll be there. But we need 3 other volunteers to make that work. So please sign up for those. Is anyone not receiving the invitations from Sign Up Genius? Okay, please sign up. Thank you.
Kathryn, I thought at some point we were going to do something at like Sprouts or Dollar General or King Soopers or something like that.
Kathryn, I can't get people to sign up for what I have put together. So, I mean, if you would like me to put together something for Sprouts, just tell me what day you want to work that and I'll put the event up.
Okay, or as I said, any other thing.
Right.
And another place that is, I'm thinking maybe a good possibility to get a good variety of representation is at the Chilson Center at the pools.
Okay, and we have a subcommittee that's supposed to be working on the library presentation, and I haven't heard anything from that group.
Okay, but the time that I go to the pool, there are a lot of people there of varying ethnicities and a lot of kids. So
that's wonderful. Just send me the days and the times that you want to work that,
okay,
and I'll put the event together and try to get you another volunteer.
okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Ward, your hand is raised.
Yeah, real quick, Kathryn, I'm going to be out of town here for the next like almost 3 weeks. Do you have anything after July 20th?
No, July 10th is the end of the survey.
Okay. Then I apologize.
All right, so moving on, we had started a discussion on the code of ethics and then we ran out of time at our last meeting. So that needs to be the meat of this meeting. So Commissioner Scholl, do you want to speak on this and keep it going?
Sure. And I apologize. I'm had to get I'm at work because of the way the schedule works. So I apologize. And we had started the discussion at the last meeting. And, I think this kind of builds off of a little bit of the discussion we're having related to the survey of kind of what is it we're actually intending to do. I mean, what recommendations or what are we, I think we've clearly identified that there's a level of distrust, through the survey instrument that exists, with the city council. I mean, I don't think that's that unusual or shocking, quite frankly, but I think part of it is, as a board, what are the steps we're going to take to ensure that at least there's some trust or some opportunity to to hold people accountable, in the community. And I've taken the step of drafting kind of a code of ethics and that I think should be adopted by the city council. And I was led to believe by the city manager that the council was intending to take that up at their next retreat, council retreat at some point. But I do think, I think if we're going to define, if we're going to ask, city council particularly to build public trust, I think it's important that we define what public trust means and what those expectations are for that behavior. Which is why I thought a code of ethics would be a good place to start. The document that I drafted and sent was by no means intended to be the final. It was just a place. It was something that would allow people to react to. And I think that and I'm as I say, I have no pride of authorship, But I will say that it's having a code of ethics is not unusual. If you do a Google search, which I did, there are a lot of communities have them. They have them as a way of establishing kind of some behavioral norms for their public officials and expectations. And I think it's important, that we do that. If anything, I mean, I think that we could, define that and create an expectation for, city council and public officials to live up to it, and one of the things I think that came up, one of the things that I observed was, and I think it came out in the discussion, is when you start to talk about, what do we have now? It's kind of, well, there's a piece here in the code, and there's a piece here in the human resources handbook, and there's a piece over here in the ordinance that tells this, but there's nothing that speaks to kind of what is that behavior, that expectation that we expect as the public from our elected officials. So I think it was a place for us to start. I know there was a discussion about maybe having a committee fine tune or draft perfect what I had started, and I think that seems to be kind of a good idea. The only other thing that I would recommend, and then I'll stop, and is if we do have a code of ethics, I would like to recommend that not only we have a code of ethics that council agrees to, but that it's posted publicly on their bio on the website, so that it's clear, open, and easy to access. But that's I think maybe the next step after that. So with that, Chairman, Mayor, I'll stop and open. We can have discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Barrett.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you for your work on this, Commissioner Scholl. I really appreciate it. We know from the last meeting that City Council is working on a code of ethics already. And so my two thoughts that I have are, one, that we should give them bullet points that are based on the feedback that we get from the survey as to what really must be included in the code of ethics, and then leave the fine print to them, my personal thought. And then the other one is that in addition to posting it on public websites, which I think is great, I think that there needs to be a committee of some kind that is established to enforce the code of ethics. The US Senate has this. Everybody who's important who has a code of ethics has some sort of a body to be responsible for giving advice when it's needed. Somebody you can call, hey, is this going to violate my code of ethics? Somebody who can determine if a member of City Council has violated any provisions and establish appropriate penalties for those violations. When Bill Jensen talks about accountability, everything in me goes, yes, yes, yes. We have to do that. So those are my two thoughts. And then I sent an email to Jeffrey that you guys will be getting that has a couple of my thoughts on what I think the bullet points should be. So thank you.
If I could just quickly respond to that, Chairman, I will say thank you. I mean, I appreciate that. The one area where I would respectfully disagree is I'm a little of different mind on just giving them suggestions, because I think you're asking people to write a norm of behavior that they apply to themselves. And I think that I would say that I don't trust the City Council to write a set of ethics that I would find acceptable, but I think I would want to be the voice of the public a little bit more and draft something, and make sure that we're not just giving them kind of ideas that they can take or leave, that we're very clear about what we expect to be included in a code of ethics. And so that would be my only kind of response to that. But I obviously clearly am one voice among many. So.
Commissioner Ward.
Thanks. I'm somewhere in between, I think, Kathryn and Mike. I like the idea of having a code of ethics. I think it needs to be created by the body that's going to live with it, because they need to have buy-in to it. If it comes down from, the Community Trust Commission, where probably like the majority of council, my guess, doesn't value what we're doing, they're not going to value anything we send them. So my thought would be a recommendation that includes broad categories, kind of like what Kathryn mentioned about bullet points, and then have them work on it publicly. So the public, like in a study session or a retreat, study session probably be better because people see those. I don't think people see retreats, and have them work on it publicly. So the public can hear what they have to say about it, because there's value in hearing them discuss those ethics. There's a lot of value in that. That's just my 2 cents.
As long as there's a public comment period or some kind of thing.
Yeah. And there could be in a study session, right? I mean, you guys could have a public comment period if you wanted, I would think.
I was almost thinking like an administrative rulemaking process.
Yeah.
Commissioner Black.
Yes, thank you. I completely agree with Commissioner Scholl. I feel like it should be on record what we recommend specifically, and if they so choose not to include that in their code of ethics, then I want that on record that they didn't take the recommendations from the CDC. But I think at this point, I completely agree too with Commissioner Ward that there's not much value that most of that body has for our work and our recommendations. At this point, I just want everything on record. So that's kind of where I stand on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Vick.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, I think it's excellent work that has been done. Kathryn did send me an email. I liked some of her suggestions, especially coming out of the survey. I agree with Aaron that, and Commissioner Ward as well, Commissioner Black and Commissioner Ward, we have a duty as a CTC to bring these issues up. And I think this is actually the avenue to do it. Personally, I think that this is like, there's going to be like a coup d'etat or whatever the commission does to gain the people's trust and say that, hey, we have been working for this. I think this is it. I think if this is the document that says, because you guys acted this way, here's what we recommend as a community trust to rebuild the trust, is that you all have to figure out how to do this. And the discussion at a study session, definitely. And if the city council just blows it off, it pretty much sends a great public message, does it not? Hey, the CTC recommended this document to be kind of a starting place for discussions, include the 8 pillars of trust, 4 or 5 big things we come out with that, and some things out of the survey. And I think we've got a great document that we present as a CTC. Because obviously this is a multifaceted issue, from Garner through all the other stuff with city council to whatever else is going on in the world right now. So I'm also for being on a subcommittee. I don't know if I need to make a motion on that. I'm willing to work with that and work with Commissioner Scholl on that as well. So that's my thoughts at this point.
We would need a motion to create a subcommittee.
If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion.
Excuse me. I largely agree with Commissioner Ward. I am personally more interested in results than having an issue. Having something that we've created that we can point to and as something that the Trust Commission did. I think having whether it's bullet points or categories or whatever is helpful. Anchoring some of that in the comments that we've received on the survey, I think would be helpful. I think it ought to be provided to the city council as a recommendation. And I think one of the important elements of a recommendation should be a time limit where we believe they should provide at least a draft of a code of ethics. recognizing that that there are elements of a code of ethics in different, scattered around different manuals and handbooks in the city, but bringing it together as a single code of ethics. And then give a time limit of like 6 months to have a draft of that code of ethics available for public comment and available for the city council then to vote on.
Do we have any more discussion? All right. Do we want to, yeah, go ahead, Shane.
If there's no more discussion, I'll make a motion to form a subcommittee to come up with a draft for a code of ethics from the CTC.
And and also volunteer to be on the committee.
All right, all in favor of creating a subcommittee to draft the code of ethics, please raise your hand. All right, motion passes. Or, well, all those opposed?
There it is.
There. Gary, are you for or opposed? Sorry.
Opposing.
Okay, noted. Motion passes. So then do we have volunteers to be on the subcommittee? Remember, I'm taking notes. Kathryn?
Shane,
Shane?
I volunteer.
And Mike? Okay. Cool. All right. So on to our next point here. City Manager, could you give us a quick update, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see the time here, so I'll cut my shorter and then people can ask questions if they have things. I have a couple of different areas I want to talk to today. First is for us in the city, probably one of the most impactful things I'm working on right now with our team is the urban camping ban in our community. And so this is something that came out of some discussion that council had been receiving from business owners and other community members, and pretty widespread about the concern of the growth of camping that was going on our public spaces, open space, open lands, parks and rec, and other areas, and had asked that the city staff do something about that. So we have formed a pretty large group that's working on a solution for that. We had an emergency ordinance declared on May 17th. And last Friday, we moved our first 2 encampment units out of the area they were in to somewhere else. And so we have been working on this project to make sure there's a destination that has acceptable accommodations for what is required from the Supreme Court on moving someone that is in a public space to a place that is acceptable and deemed appropriate. So that was accomplished on Friday, and we will be noticing others. And the notice process is 7 days. We offer storage for folks who have things that they need to have stored, and then they can move to the place that we have set up for them. And this process is starting, and then we will be continuing that for the next foreseeable future here. We are looking at initially sheltered inside quarters. We're looking at another facility to be constructed. So a lot of work left to do in this, but a lot of people involved in helping us with this and support. Been out visiting with our business owners and committee members as we work through this process. So more will come on this. We are publishing reports every week, and thanks to Katherine Bullard, who brought this up at our city council meeting last week. We're also putting it at lovegov.com, which is our normal website /homelessness. And these reports, then there's weekly reports and updates will be provided to the public and to everybody there to receive updates on what's going on with that particular topic. The next topic that I wanted to talk about for a minute was our police chief selection and hiring process. Appreciate the time that you gave Bob, our gentleman that came in from Prothman, to tell him what you think was important in a police chief. He was all day, 2 days, involved in a lot of different community discussions and getting a lot of great feedback. He has taken that back. We're working on a job description, which we'll be ready to issue out pretty quickly, and also a recruiting type brochure that talks about the city of Loveland. And he's received a lot of feedback from different folks on that too as well. So he'll be working on that and distributing that out. So we'll be working in the next steps of that to have him identify potential candidates, go through a process of a long list, work with myself and a few others in staff on a shorter list of about 5 or 6. We've talked about a very large public process where you'll be able to have a conversation with these candidates one-on-one as community members. We also are looking on how we can involve the Trust Commission and also PCAB in a more deliberate way in this interview process as well. So we'll have more details on that. It's a couple months away. And then we wanted to give you an update on the next topic, which was the implementation plan. I appreciated the work that a lot of you spent in giving feedback to the 5 different work groups that were headed by our different lieutenants in our city, and provided input to them on the recommendations from Jensen Hughes and their report, and also not just the items that were listed as recommendations, but also in the forward part of that document, starting on page like 8 all the way through, there were comments that they made that didn't carry into a recommendation, but they still felt were important. And we have tracked all of those and have prepared a summary document that talks about what the item was, what the current status of it is. In some cases, like form districts, that was a recommendation. We've done that already. We've gone back to our district format. So there are some low-hanging things that have already been done, but there are a lot of things we're still working on. And so we wanted to bring this document back to you at your July 18th meeting, just to introduce it to you. We know you're busy, but we would like to give it to you so you have time to read through it, and then come back in the August meeting and actually have a conversation with you about it. That's our proposal. That's what we're planning to do with the PCAB. We're meeting with them on July the 11th. We'll provide the document to them. Right now it's 9 pages, 11 by 17 spreadsheet of what the plan looks like at this point. It's still being worked on. We're still trying to get some updates to it. We're finding information out. We've gotten information that's updating it. So that's our current plan. Then from there, once the 2 commissions have seen it, we want to then share it with our city council in public forums so that people can have comment on it. We also want to take it out to visit with some listening sessions and move through that process. So we're still involved in this and getting this out to everybody. Nothing's been finalized or anything. We understand this is a draft working document. We also had the Citizens Night Out, our community night out, which the police department helped organize, had 20 different locations throughout the city. We've received some good comments back on the interactions that our folks had with our police department and fire department, EMS, and others that were there at different locations to provide them information on what they're doing for the community. We thought that was a very worthwhile event. Also, I think I've mentioned before that we are involved in work on the opioid settlement that's going on nationwide. And this opioid settlement came as a result of some of the companies that had sold that drug coming together to forming a pool of money and coming up with a way to distribute that to the different states. And also how then each state would then figure out a process to distribute it within its locations. So the state has come up with that process, and they are called the Colorado Abatement Council. And we have worked on an IGA that council signed about a month and a half ago, where a share of the money that's determined by formulas and percentages. And that's the reason that was, is because the money coming in varies based on how much is brought in. There's still some more possibility of other drug companies entering this particular agreement. So they did percentages instead of dollar value amounts. And so the Larimer Regional Opioid Council includes all of Larimer County and any city over 10,000 people. So that includes Wellington, Loveland, Fort Collins, and Larimer County itself. Also, by the nature of it, included a member of the Larimer County Health Department board on it too as well. So that group will work to help distribute the monies that come in. And right now, estimates, and I need to say estimates, it's not firm, but we're looking around maybe somewhere between $100,000 to $80,000 a year for the next 12 years or so to the cities directly, and then also to the Larimer Regional Council, about $1 to $3 million a year annually. And that council would have a board that's formed. Our representative is Council Member Olson, and the backup representative is our new library director, Amy Phillips, who helped work through this process over the last 2 years of discussions with all the different entities and how this worked out from all the other communities that were involved in this process. So we're excited on that front to be able to work on this topic and direct the monies into treatment, into prevention. And so there's a lot of different potential areas that could be used at in our city and community. And so we'll be working to come up with other opportunities there for that. And of course, that will be done with this board moving forward, and also in conversations with our city council with the monies that were received by the city. So with those updates, I'll stop there, and also, of course, acknowledge the work that I know Nicole's been working directly with Commissioner Barrett and others on all of the outreach and activities for the programs and things you're trying to create. And I appreciate her efforts in that, and all of you for coming up with some of the great ideas you've had. So with that, I'll stop for now.
Thank you. Erin?
Yes, thank you. I guess I was hoping to hear from you regarding some of the things that have come out in the paper since the last time that we met, and wondering why you didn't include that in your report, or if you just assumed everybody reads the paper and is privy to that. Manager Adams, one is the case that you've been charged with for harassment. One being that you hired Jensen and Hughes again to do an investigation. And the city's being sued again for excessive force. And I'm just wondering why that wasn't part of your report.
There's a lot. I mean, I don't know where to stop. I mean, there's so many things going on right now, Commissioner. I can talk about, I think I can let Moses talk about the litigation items better than I can speak to those. And I think that was the two things that you had. And I think he can speak to those himself.
So, pardon, before you speak to that, Attorney Garcia, I would like to hear from you, City Manager Adams, regarding if it's taxpayer dollars that's paying for your representation in this case.
So I will jump in because this is inappropriate questioning. The city manager is subject to criminal charge. He has his own defense counsel, as you would expect for anyone who is trying to preserve their rights. You would not ask them to answer those types of questions at all. You can certainly direct those questions to me, and to the degree I can answer them, I'm happy to do that. But we have to be careful, not only with city manager and his rights as a citizen in due process, but these cases that all are involved in litigation at this point, we really do limit our ability to comment on this because we don't want to create either witnesses, we don't want to have inconsistent statements. We want to preserve the city's best efforts in defending itself. So there is very little to comment on at this point. What you've seen in the paper, we've certainly worked on statements from the city to represent the city's perspective. And I think that's really what you would need to rely on.
I can't rely on city statements because in the past it's been proven over and over again that they misrepresented the actual facts and were skewed. So I do not trust that. I'm asking him specifically because he's here before us today. This hit the papers, and all of these speak again to transparency and accountability with our city and our police department. This is exactly our charge as the Trust Commission, and more things continue to come out and roll out between meetings. Our chair can't even get an agenda put together without something else popping up. And I think I have a right as a resident of Loveland to know who's paying for Steve Adams' counsel in this case. I do not think that's an inappropriate question.
So Commissioner Black, what I would say is, what I had said is Steve is preserving his rights. If you want to direct that question to me, that would be appropriate. But Steve should not be talking to this issue at all because he is a defendant in the case. And like all of us, we want to do our best to protect our interests in our own due process.
So I will ask you, Attorney Garcia, are tax money dollars paying for Steve Adams' representation?
They are not.
Thank you.
Commissioner Barrett.
Thank you. Thank you. City Manager, I have two questions for you. One is with the safe, according to the Supreme Court, spaces for homeless in Loveland. Is there any security measure in that for the youth who are in those camps at all to keep them safe?
Thank you, Commissioner, for that question. Right now, our contact with youth is somewhat limited. Most of the folks we have contact with are adults. And in that, we also have measures for security that go beyond our police department, but they actually will be in resident security as we move forward on this process. So we understand that. We're also have other things that we need to consider there as far as ADA and other measures, making sure that those are all followed as well.
Just to jump in, Kathryn, this is Commissioner Vick.
Raise your hand.
We haven't seen a lot of kids in these homeless camps on that. It's a majority of adults, just to put that out there. Cause I mean, obviously in the job that we do, we would see those kids, but it's majority adults. So just to kind of give you that ease a little bit.
Okay, well, that's encouraging. And then my second question is the city update came out recently, and I thought it was going to mention the Trust Commission survey, and it does not. Did I miss something? Did it get intentionally taken out?
I'm sorry, I didn't. Are you talking about the newsletter that goes into the utility bill?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I couldn't see from what you held up. I will need to talk to Nicole. She's out of the office right now. She'll return tomorrow and I'll find out why that was not in there. It was not intentionally removed for sure, but I don't know why it's not there.
Okay, thank you.
I'll find out and let you know.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of questions.
One second. So I have an order. Commissioner Barrett, your hand is still up. Are you good? City Attorney Garcia, your hand is up next. And then Gary, I see your hand too.
Yes, I wanted to let you know that
Yes.
I did receive an email from Nicole. What she indicated was that the newsletter focused more, I think if we're talking about the same one, more on the city's survey rather than the trust survey. And that was due to the competing factors of having both surveys out at the same time and trying not to confuse the public as to which one, thinking they're the same thing, or, focusing more on the trust survey as opposed to the city's survey, which is, statistically significant, it follows all the parameters. She did mention that there was a question on trust in there that she thought would be helpful to all of you. And I can forward that email on to the full Trust Commission, but really it had more to do with trying to keep people from being confused with the two surveys being released virtually at the same time.
Thank you.
Can I respond really quickly? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. And then
Thank you. So I beg to differ. If you really wanted to make sure that there was no confusion, you should have presented both and said, this is one and this is the other. Just my thoughts.
And the time frame as well.
Commissioner Drace.
Yes, Chair, thank you. I want to stress that I fully agree with everything that Commissioner Black stated a few moments ago. I would also like to see added to her list the police officers that are out doing fake DUI arrests. I think that's just appalling. The police department still hasn't curbed anything they're doing. And I would like to see Commissioner Black's listing along with the DUI enforcement be placed as agenda topics on the next meeting. They're very important. We need to be discussing those. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Commissioner Bullard.
Thank you. City Manager Adams, just a couple questions about the encampments. I thank you for the multi-page thing you gave to me at City Council. That was helpful. I wish that the rest of the public had access to some of this, even though it's long. First of all, I know the original estimate at King's Crossing was that there were about 100 people there. How many people are there now?
I think we have an estimate that's a little bit different, Commissioner, we look at encampments versus people. And we have right now about 40 encampments that we have located in the King's Crossing area. Some of those, like one encampment we moved, had 2 people in it. Some others have just 1, some have several. So I don't have a number of people so much as I have encampments.
Okay, reasonable answer. I like that. And what about Cottonwood Run? I've never heard of that.
Cottonwood Run, as far as the location of where it is?
No, what? Although that would be interesting as well. But is that in their encampment then?
So one of the areas that we've seen encampments in along the Big Thompson River is an area called Cottonwood Run. It comes from Cottonwood Development, and it is east of Wilson Avenue and north of First Street, on West First Street. And we have our bike path and everything from there, and it's just east of our service center area that's out there. You know, that big service center that's there in the Public Works Service Center.
Very aware.
Just east of that is
very aware of that. Yeah.
That's Cottonwood Run area.
Okay, and so there's an encampment there now?
Oh, absolutely.
Any idea of how many encampments, how many things there?
I'm recalling a map that had about 6 different encampment sites in that area, and that's a little bit old. We are out every week between ourselves with environmental people and our HR risk group, making contact to help them with their daily living, as well as our police department has some of their staff out trying to help some folks if they have fights or something in the encampment areas. They're trying to come out there and help them out. So we have numerous folks out every day making some kind of contact with the groups.
Okay, and I know the one person that's been doing that a lot, I don't remember his name. I know he's been to City Council a time or 2, not to speak, but just being there. And I'm glad that that's happening.
Hey, since Jeffrey's not here, I'm just reminding everybody we have 5 minutes as vice chair helping.
Okay. And I'm done. Thank you.
All right, so do we have any more discussion about city manager report? All right. The next item that we had was the press release conversation. We touched on a few things. Commissioner Black, is there anything else that we should touch on today in the next 5 minutes, 4 minutes?
Not at this time. Thank you.
All right. If you have anything that you need to, or you would like to see on next week's agenda, please email me. I've taken good notes, but if you think that I've missed something, please let me know. And yeah, hopefully Jeffrey will be back. Oh, Commissioner Black.
When is our next meeting, the 18th, or are we trying to have a special meeting between then?
I think we need to ask Jeffrey to ask the commission. What do you guys think about that? Do you
My
think
thought
we-
is, my
Yeah.
thought is this. If we wait till the 18th, I think we should then now give it time. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Mondays in August. The 29th might be a great time to have one, since there are 5 Mondays, which would make up for our July missed meeting. That's my thought.
Okay. Anyone else have thoughts and feelings about having an additional special meeting or not? Commissioner Black?
When's our next report to city council?
That is a good question. I don't have that date in front of me. It's in July. We should have one before that. Commissioner Draith?
Yes, excuse me, relating to special meetings, I think if you do one, it needs to be the full length of a normal meeting. This 1 hour is not sufficient. And there were several items brought up that would be good for the agenda. The agenda needs to be more substantive than what we had today, and it needs to work towards specific trust issues with city council, similar to those items that Commissioner Black stated. Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Black?
I just want to make sure Commissioner Drive understands that our chairwoman busted her hump for the last couple of weeks to get this meeting on the books. And there was some staff changes at the city, and I think that was part of it. Yeah, there's an awful lot going on, but I do know that was not chair's fault that it came down the way it did, and we didn't have much notice. My hope would be if we had another special meeting, that it would be a lot easier to put together, since we know all the hoops that must be jumped through for the city to make that happen. And so I just know that I didn't want all of that to fall on your shoulders, Chair Mayor. And I'm just concerned that we're not going to be ready for that next report, I guess, is my concern about not meeting until the 18th.
And I'm wondering if we could ask to have the report at a later date.
Well, I think what I need to do is make sure we know that date and see where we're at, and then we can discuss having another special meeting to prepare for that if we need. But it's not for a few weeks, so we're out of time. So let's end for now. I appreciate all your time and energies to be here, and the last minute stuff. I do appreciate you still being here. So cool. We'll work on the Code of Ethics Subcommittee. You guys are now in charge of that, and we'll have updates next time. We have the survey still rolling. It'll all be good. Have a good weekend. Or
Please.
Oh, yes.
Sign up
Sign
for
up.
events.
Do it. Sign up. It's fun.
It is
All right.
fun.
Thanks, guys. And read the reports too. You can read all the comments. They're really interesting and helpful, I think. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right.